Okay, let's go ahead and get started. And if people join in, they can, they're obviously welcome. Welcome, everybody. I think tonight we're going to talk about a subject that I think a lot of people are interested in that the new normal for triathlon races. You know, what can competitors expect as they go to races as they start happening later in the year? We've got Sally Drake, who's the owner and the race director for MSE Racing, as well as the owner and head coach of Sally Drake Endurance Coaching, and Mike Ludwig, who's an experienced triathlete and one of the coaches at Power Up. And they're going to kind of run through some stuff that Ironman is doing, some stuff that and then a lot of stuff that pertains to local events. So Mike, you want to take over?
Okay, thank you. And if you see me looking up to my left here, or your left, I should say, it's because I'm managing the entry of all the people in here. So if somebody shows up, I want to make sure I catch them. So tonight, thanks for signing in. And what Sally and I wanted to do was to give everybody a bit of an overview on, and some details with regard to what Ironman and USAT are doing, as well as some of the local races with regards to resuming to racing here in as early as this month, but then also into August and September. So what I wanted to do first was just give you a little bit of background on what the impact has been because of COVID. And when you look at how many races have been or events have been canceled, USA Triathlon has canceled over 38,000 events. Just imagine how many people like us are having to go through this. Ironman Triathlon, I show here, has over 100, but the last I heard it was over 140 races canceled, and that's around the world. As a result, we really haven't had many opportunities to race. So, one question everybody would be, what have you been up to? I know a lot of people have been, continuing with their training up until a race gets canceled. Some have been continuing with their training and then holding fake races. I imagine there were quite a few groups at Newtown this weekend doing the Newtown Triathlon on their own. I know a group that I'm with did a half Ironman back during on the weekend that Des Moines was supposed to happen. So a lot of people addressing this different ways. The process that Ironman and USAT are going through is basically they're going through a 3-phase program similar to a lot of state restarts. The first phase there is, and most people are in that now yet, is that there's no events permitted by state or local authorities, or there's just virtual racing. So a lot of us are finding out what normal people do on Saturdays. Phase 2 is in-person racing permitted with local event size restrictions and strict limitations. There are several states that are in this mode right now. Somewhat ironically, I noticed that I have friends who have been doing races in Florida and Texas. Otherwise, we're all waiting for our next race to go virtual because of some change in limitations or even get canceled. And phase 3, which probably won't happen until next year, is where we get back to something on the normal that we're used to. Otherwise, we're all sitting here this year waiting for or remembering the good old days. So Ironman has established 5 guiding principles for coming back to racing. Those involve enhanced hygiene, which is a lot of opportunities to sanitize and disinfect and clean. Staff volunteers will be wearing masks. Athletes will be wearing masks at packet pickup and then in the venue, although obviously not during the race. Some may choose to do that. Screening and education, a lot of training for staff and volunteers, a lot of training for and information going out to the competitors, and you'll need to look at the race website to get all the details for that particular race. But you can expect to also get your temperature checked and health questionnaires being asked when you show up at the race. And in some cases, I know that some promoters are doing the questionnaires online in order to get through the door. Density reduction, increasing the space at swim start. Pretty much all will be time trial starts, but it may be individually, it may be 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 abreast with 6 feet distance between them. You'll see that at transition as well, with less density, and then also at the finish. Some races have been having very limited with regard to spectators or not inviting spectators. And then many and most are eliminating non-essential services, for instance, pre-race meals, in-person race briefings, and in some cases body marking. There's been a lot of work done with touch point minimization between staff, volunteers, and athletes, so they've had to redesign a lot of aspects of the operation. And then athlete self-reliance, encouraging you to carry your own nutrition, or when there is nutrition, it is in some cases on the run self-serve, and then in some cases on the bike, it's just basically handing off bottles, and the volunteers will be wearing masks and wearing gloves. There's been some modification to special needs areas to make more room to accommodate that, and then also encouraging the athletes themselves to review and embrace tips with regards to making sure they're adequately trained. That goes along with nutrition and hydration. They're familiar with the course, and that their bikes are well maintained, because there may not be as much in the way of support for bike maintenance during the race themselves. Promoters have been getting a lot of new responsibilities as a result. A lot of coordination with state and local jurisdictions to ensure it can be permitted. This really is the main factor in determining if an event will happen. And if it is allowed to happen, then they need to ensure that they meet the state and local gathering limitations associated with events in that area. So without this permission being granted, promoters are basically helpless with regards to being able to say, yes, we can have the event, no, we can't. If they can, they need to adhere to the limitations, and those will be marshaled as well. Promoters also have a lot of new jobs associated with running a race, and then also added supplies. A lot of increase in communications and briefings that have to be done virtually. The physical distancing and enhanced hygiene measures need to address a multitude of aspects of every race. You can see the list there. They all have to be taken into account. And then there's added costs with regards to supplies as well, and that they have to get thermometers for temperature readings, face coverings for staff, a lot of hand sanitizer, and cleaning of porta-johns and doors, and providing disinfectant wipes and a lot of other materials. So those promoters are really juggling a lot more than they used to. So what I've got here next is a video that I'll go ahead and share from Ironman. And this video gives a good visualization of what's going on. I need to share this. Come on.
I don't know about everyone else, but I can't really hear it. Is anyone else having problems?
Yeah.
I don't think this video has noise. I looked at it before and it was silent.
Sorry about the audio. Okay, and get back to the presentation here. Did you hear the audio on the second half? Still not, okay. That's a problem with sharing under Zoom, I guess. So what I did want to do here was go ahead and give Sally a chance to go ahead and talk about MSE Racing, what they're doing, and what is being planned for the Lufu Subaru St. Louis Triathlon coming up on 6 September. So with that, I'll go ahead and have Sally take it up, and then at the end of her talk, we'll go ahead and open it up for questions and answers and any other discussion that you want to have. Sally?
Okay, thanks, Mike. So, yeah, as Mike mentioned, there are a lot of challenges as a race director, just staying on top of everything that's going on and researching a lot and checking in with St. Louis County. Pretty much every few days I'm in touch with either the Parks Department or the Department of Public Health. They're the ones that I have to submit my safety plan to and things like that. So we're staying on top of it. And as of right now, we are approved to hold the triathlon, knowing that could change any day. So our plan right now, and this is basically the safety plan that I did submit to St. Louis County, is I'll just kind of breeze through this. I won't read it all to you all, but for morning check-in, we were just going to have a sign-in for check-in time. So right now we're using Sign Up Genius, which has been helpful in a lot of our events and our swim workouts and things like that, to let people sign up for different time slots so that we can spread it out that way. So we'll use Sign Up Genius for that purpose. And then, of course, as athletes enter, they'll be asked to wear their masks, and then we'll have volunteers who will have masks and gloves. Of course, all the volunteers, whenever possible, which is probably always, will be wearing masks when they're in close contact with the athletes. And then we'll take temperatures. If your temperature is above 100 degrees, then you'll be turned away. So that's the line where we have to turn people away. We'll ask questions, based on the list that St. Louis County provides as far as how, health questions, and then any of the participants can ask us questions as well. We hope to have body marking. We'll see. Again, with all of these measures, we're going to need more volunteers. So our thoughts were possibly that the person taking the temperatures could also do body marking. That could help us spread out the volunteers. So that's morning check-in, and as I'm learning more, I'm going to we're timing the Ballin Triathlon next weekend, or this coming weekend. So I may learn some new things from Matt that work really well for him, or that don't work for him, and so this plan could definitely change. Okay, next slide, Mike. Thank you. Okay, and then transitions. So allowing athletes 10 minutes. We all know we could spend more than 10 minutes in there organizing our stuff, but you can easily do it in 10 minutes, and then we'll allow athletes to go back in one more time to check their things, and then put their mask in with their transition area. And then we'll allow a maximum of 30 people. That's the number we're looking at right now based on the total number of registrants that we have. But that number could change, the number of people that are in the transition at one time. And then 4 to 5 bikes per rack. That could change as well, just depending on how things go here in the next month. So Johnny on the spots, we will have signs to keep people. I've noticed at different training events that we've had that people are doing a really good job at social distancing. So it is kind of your responsibility to spread yourself out from the people around you, and I think everyone's just unfortunately getting in the habit of that. I mean, unfortunately and fortunately, but getting in the habit of that. So we'll still have signs just to remind people, because I know race morning everybody gets a little nervous. And then we'll have some wipes. We'll have containers of wipes that people can take into the bathrooms to wipe down anything they want to wipe down on the seats or whatever. sanitizing wipes. We were talking about getting a volunteer to clean the Johnny spots, and I thought, oh my gosh, well, that subjects that person to a lot of germs. So I don't know who in their right mind would want to do that. So we might just have cans of Lysol and wipes available for the Johnny on spots. We can clean the door handles. How about that? And the wash stations, of course. I mean, that's mandatory now anyway, to have the wash stations and Johnny on spot with the Johnny on spots. Okay, and then the swim start. You probably saw in the Ironman video, there are different ways to do it, but I really like the idea of having different waves, similarly to what we did before. So having different waves of athletes that come in one group at a time and then line up kind of as you saw in the video. So you line up, so you're spaced apart, lining up, and we enter maybe 3 to 4 people at a time into the water. So that should keep people nice and spaced out on the beach. And then on the course, similar to the whole Ironman video that you saw, where the volunteers will be minimal. It'll be more like you're going to carry your own things. You may be grabbing, on the bike, you'll be grabbing water bottles as you normally would, but the volunteer will have a mask and gloves on. On the run, we'll likely have tables. We'll have a volunteer there, but we'll have tables with water coolers and hand sanitizer and cups and things like that. So, yeah, but we're definitely going to have some hydration on the course for safety. We'll be as safe as we can with that. Spectators, and this will just be depending on the different areas to spectate. A lot of you did, yeah, I think all of you on here did the St. Louis Triathlon or were there. So there are various areas where spectators would hang out, and we'll send out a guide to spectating, the best places to stand, and different ways of spreading out for that, so that we can have plenty of space for people who are there supporting their athletes. And then we'll have volunteers who are kind of checking on that, because again, just as we all do when people get together and get excited, they tend to gather and forget about all the COVID rules. And then post-race, unfortunately, no awards ceremony right now. That's the plan, unless we think of something really creative to have people gather in that area and be spaced out enough. It could be possible, so we're exploring different options. But as of right now, we feel like that would just be a recipe for too much gathering after the race, when people are excited and tired and not really thinking about social distancing. So again, that's the plan right now, but we're still exploring it. And then picking up gear will limit the number of athletes. I have 30 right now. Again, that could change. Everything could change daily. And then we usually print off the results, but that kind of encourages gathering when people are waiting in line for their results. So we won't have any printed results, unfortunately. So that's the post-race. And with that, I'll also mention that again, we're learning daily. We just had our first open water swim, group open water swim at Simpson Lake, and it was a huge success. We learned a lot, but I was really, really pleased with everything and the way that people spaced themselves out in the lines. There was less gathering at the end of the swim where people were either starting or finishing the swim. There was a little bit of gathering, but I do feel like there are some kind of training groups that have been together a lot, and they feel comfortable with each other, but it wasn't anything that I was really, really uncomfortable with. We do have a list of things that we're going to put in place, different things we're going to put in place, again, just for added safety and in regards to COVID. So, but that went really well. So yeah, thank you all.
All right, so we included a list of races and events that are happening here in the next couple months. As Sally mentioned, the open water swims are already underway. There are a couple of triathlons coming up in Springfield, Kirkwood. The Missouri State Time Trial championships, although it's a cycling event, should be pretty easy to social distance on. And then, of course, the St. Louis Triathlon and CAPEX, which Sally mentioned may get a new name, but the old Lake Carlisle location later in September. These charts and all these titles here are linked to the race sites, and the charts themselves will be loaded, as well as a recorded version of this on the Power Up YouTube channel, so that others can go ahead and take a look who couldn't make it here tonight. So I did want to go ahead and open it up to Q&A. So anybody who's willing to contribute, ask a question, make a comment, please do.
Hey, Sally,
Yeah.
what's your cap number for the St. Louis Triathlon? How many people can you have register?
So that's a good question. Right now we are, we're over 500. So, but that's our current registration list, but we probably have 100. I have a list of people who are transferring to 2021 because of COVID or other reasons that they couldn't do the new date. So, so yeah, we right now, because when I came into the race as a race director, the registrations had already happened, so I couldn't really cap it. So I'll see where I am and offer, you know, transfers to next year, transfers to CAPEX or something like that if I have to lower the number. But I think we probably will be around 350, and I feel comfortable that we can spread people out with that number. And for CAPEX, my cap will probably be, and I'm just gonna kind of watch things. CAPEX registration is low because like that's later in the season. So as things started happening with COVID, people stopped signing up for races. So that one, I'll have more of an opportunity to cap it at a number if I need to. But just right now, just paying attention to what's going on and how other races are being handled. And I'm in communication with USA Triathlon as well for their recommendations. But yeah, that was the problem, is that the registration was already over 500. So when COVID hit. So good question.
Well, Sally, what's the your sense of the St. Louis County officials' reception to the idea of holding large events like triathlons, athletic events? Where they think it's a good idea, or are you receiving some pushback from them?
No pushback. I've talked to Maggie, who's my contact at St. Louis County Parks, and she is right now, just like everyone, just says, yeah, you all are good to go. I submitted my safety plan to Maggie at St. Louis County and the Department of Public Health, and yeah, so this is classified as an adult sport. There are different classifications of the group gatherings. We're classified as an adult sport. So a lot of my safety plan came off of the guidelines from adult sports and the suggested guidelines that we should follow. So and I also emailed with the Department of Public Health, and they were excited. The girl actually who I was communicating with, who is my contact there, has done triathlons. So interesting, right? But right now they're fine with it as long as we have a safety plan in place that makes sense for what's going on at the moment.
Yeah, as a matter of fact, the county parks director was an Olympic trials competitor back in his day. So I know that he's, all for outdoor sports as well.
Wow. Yeah, and really, I mean, after being at the Simpson Lake Swim, I really, I did feel comfortable and made adjustments on anything that I felt uncomfortable with, or that, if anybody expresses anything to me about anything that they saw, I will make adjustments. But so yeah, right now we're good with all of St. Louis County. They're all realistic. They say, depending on the numbers, this could change any day. So, yeah, so that's what we're looking at right now. And Carlisle, I've talked to them, and they're excited for the race to happen. It's a little further off, but they are all for it.
Sally, any concerns about people coming from other states or restrictions around that?
That I don't know what that will all depend on what's going on in the world with travel restrictions.
Myra, will we see you back here?
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't know Myra was on here. Yeah, so that will just depend on, so I'm paying attention to everything that's going on in the whole world, and in narrowing it down to USA Triathlon, Ironman, just like everything we just saw. That's all I can really do right now. But as far as travel, yeah, that's just going to depend on what's going on in the world.
Okay.
Yeah.
Anybody else?
Roy's awfully quiet. I'm surprised Roy doesn't have any questions.
Yeah. Well, Sally, I've got one more question. Do you know how many participants are signed up for Baldwin?
Yes, he capped it at 200, and he got every bit of that.
Okay.
Okay, good.
It'd be
Yeah.
very interesting to see how it works.
Yes. He has, right now, he's planning on, he normally has 3 people to a lane in the swim. He's going to have some more control with volunteers and everything in the whole swim area, but he'll have 2 people to a lane in the swim instead of 3. So that he's hoping will spread people out. But other than that, I don't know what and he has fewer bikes per rack for sure. He's using our wooden bike racks.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's great.
Yeah. So he's just going to have a few bikes per rack instead of the racks hold 7. So he'll just have a few bikes per rack. Yeah, so I'll be interested to see how he spreads people out. But yeah.
Cat's got my tongue.
Roy. Anything else? Yeah, just keep in touch as we get closer. I try to send anytime something really changes. Which is almost daily, so we can only update people so much before we're driving them crazy. But we're trying to update people on what's going on, and the races, as far as we know, are still going to happen. Unless something changes.
I have one question. As a race director, would you encourage athletes to wear masks? Because that's a debate that has come up in this side of the world. And actually, there was an article from Triathlete magazine about wearing mask when exercising. So.
When exercising. So what I encourage people to do is wear their mask until they're about to start the race, or like with open water swims, they had the option. We asked them to wear the mask until they're ready to go swim. So, so then whenever they're around people, during the race, that is not in any of the adult sport rules that you have to wear the mask during the competition or exercise or training. Yeah. So that seems to be right now kind of a personal preference. And everyone's responsible for spreading themselves out from another person. So really you have control over that.
Myra, are you seeing anything different are you still up in Cleveland?
Yeah, no races here. All races have been canceled. All the local races. I'm surprised that all the races you guys have over there are still at least on plan. But here is everything. We just had our club meeting tonight, and everything is canceled.
Okay. All right, Jim, do you want to close out?
Yeah, I just like to thank everybody for participating, and particularly thanking Mike and Sally for taking the time to put this presentation together. And you know, let's all keep our fingers crossed that all of this stuff happens.
Yes, thank you.
And as Mike said, that you know, if you know somebody who's interested in this information, they can see this presentation on our YouTube channel. And Sally, did you include your email in the presentation anywhere?
I don't think so.
It's not.
Okay.
We can add it.
Yeah, Mike will add that.
Okay.
Send me what you want to put on there.
Yeah, if you need to get in touch with Sally about specifics or updates. Okay,
Sure.
thanks everyone.
Thank you all so much for attending.
Have a good evening.
Okay,
And
good
thank
night.
you, Jim and Mike.
See you,
All right.
everyone.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.